Haman Nature, a journey in search of a peaceful and prosperous society with human nature as a guide. Led by your host, Adam Haman.
Hello, and welcome to Haman Nature. With me, as always, is my sportily clad porcupine friend Tyrone. How you doing, man?
Feeling sporty instead of spiky this time, but you're looking pretty sporty too.
I am, thank you. I don't know if you can see exactly, but it's an old John Elway Denver Bronco jersey.
I got mine. My Favre Vikings jersey.
Oh, your Favre. Brett Favre.
Yeah, when he finally came from the Packers via the Jets. So anyway.
You got his crusty remnants.
That's right.
So today I figured that Tyrone and I would talk about football a little bit. We've been remembering a little article I wrote back at the last Super Bowl, it must have been, talking about a thing that I was shocked to hear and see called the Black National Anthem. And I had thoughts. But football season is starting up again. So I think that's why you were kind of interested in this subject, Tyrone. So what's on your brain?
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we probably just got copyright infringement for that one. But, man, it's football season. So this last weekend just kicked off football season, I guess, depending on when you see this episode. And you know, I'm a big football fan. You know, Minnesota Vikings is my team, and I love every year when football season comes around. It's probably my number one favorite sport. I like a lot of different sports, but football definitely has the place in my heart. And so, the controversy of the Black National Anthem came up again. NFL played it before the start of the first game on that Thursday night, and of course, that led to the usual, social media fights that are just whatever. Nothing ever gets really too deep there, but it seems to be a perennial topic. And yeah, it reminded me of that article you had written about it. And you know what? I thought the timing was good. So
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch any of the games.
Okay.
Did they read my article and take me up on my suggestion?
No, they didn't.
I mean, why so stingy? It's kind of silly. I mean, to go against the concept of unity that one presumes with the word national in national anthem. But if we're going to have a Black national anthem, well, then why are we screwing around? Give me a Latinx one and a Pole one and an Italian one and a gay one and just let's flood the field. So they didn't do that. They're just sticking with the regular and then whatever this Black national anthem is.
Yeah, I want the Vikings national anthem too. So
just a bunch of horns and sloshed mead cups slammed together.
Just doing the skull chant at the beginning. Yep, it's perfect.
Well, you deserve yours too. I mean, you're an oppressed minority. No one likes the Vikings.
Well, yeah, they're one of the few teams that have never won a Super Bowl. So
I didn't realize that. That's a shame.
Yeah. Haven't even been in the 60s. They had a pretty good team. They went like 4 times under the legendary head coach Bud Grant, but have not made, and they never won back then in that era, and have yet to go back.
Back when I cared about football, I was a Denver Bronco fan, and so I got to see 4, I guess, Super Bowl victories. Nice. 2 with Elway and 2 with Peyton, if I'm remembering that correct.
I thought Peyton only won 1.
Maybe he did. Maybe that's right. He went and got blown apart by the Seahawks that one year.
He made it to 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos, but only won 1. And then he won 1 with the Colts. So he has 2 rings, but 2 different teams. Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned briefly in the article, I don't care about football anymore, and it has everything to do with COVID. When in 2020, when they started canceling games and wouldn't allow people in the stands, and then the worst insult to my intellect, if nothing else, was just seeing these healthy 20-year-olds, at their peak of their physical performance, running off the field from a play and putting on some stupid cloth mask that, even if they needed it, which they don't, would do nothing. It just made me so sick. I just didn't want to watch anymore. So it's been 4 years I've been clean.
Clean. You've detoxed and gotten your Sundays back. So
And and I was doing fantasy football and watching every game almost on the whatever they call it, the DirecTV thing. And
sure.
yeah, I feel like I've gotten a seventh, maybe more of my life back. Just not worrying about that stuff anymore.
I can't do fantasy football anymore. I stopped playing that a few years ago. It gets a bit ridiculous. Eventually you're playing like multiple teams, so you're rooting against yourself almost, and it's like trying to keep track of it all. And to be honest, I didn't really care all that much about it. It did make the other games a little bit more interesting at times, and it keeps you a little bit more up to date on what's going on. But to me, the funnest part about fantasy football was just the draft day. You get together with all your friends at your buddy's garage and toss back a few beers and yell and scream at each other about who you're gonna draft and stuff. But then after that, it's like I don't care.
Well, look, dude, if you really want to stretch your emotional capacity in multiple dimensions, have a favorite team, then play in 8 or 9 fantasy leagues, and then start betting on the games.
Oof.
You'll just be pulled in all manner of different directions. It'll be great.
That sounds like a fear and loathing in Las Vegas spiral. I don't want to go down. But so that was it, huh? So ancient history, 2020, so long ago. They implemented those COVID protocols, and that was just now. I mean, was it just because it was sports, or because if you're going to use that logic, you'd probably have to like turn yourself off of like a lot of parts of society because everybody went along with it.
True enough, and I did. I mean, I think I've mentioned what they did to poker rooms.
Right.
Just drove me insane. Just the insanity of it, the illogic of it, the cruelty of it. And I'm just not going to watch a stadium when the very healthy athletic players are wearing useless masks. And remember when they put fake people in the stands or something? Like you could you could pay the stadium and like put your face on it or something. It was ridiculous.
Cardboard cutouts. It was so ridiculous. Man, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like forever ago. And maybe, just traumatic. You don't want to remember it, but man, watching the sports games, whether it was baseball or football or whatever, and no one in the crowd. And it's just so eerily quiet. And I was like, what am I living in?
There's a few times in our history when you just hate your species. The burning of the Library of Alexandria, the Holocaust, COVID.
Well, that's quite the equivocation. There, I'm not sure I'm going to put COVID on that level, but
I'm trying to generate hate mail.
Yeah, well, hey, any mail would be good, folks. We can use some subscribers. Hey, HamanNature.com. Shoot us an email. I don't know. But
it's true. And if you have a problem with my Why So Stingy with the Black National Anthem NFL, go to HamanNature.com. Or if that doesn't redirect you, go to HamanNature.substack.com, search for that article and tell me off. I'd love to hear from you.
So let's dive deeper a little bit into your article. I mean, it's not a hard concept to grasp. You were just complaining, I guess, against the well, you kind of made a joke about the vernacular. National should be for all people. So, it's a bit of an oxymoron to have a national anthem for only a segment of the nation, right? So,
let me
putting that aside.
Well, let me lay that out.
The other points.
Let me lay that out a little bit because it's minor and petty, but I think it has a little bit of a deeper meaning. It wouldn't bother me terribly if we didn't have a national anthem or we didn't play it before these games. I'm not a big rah, rah, rah guy. I hate the fact that all these sporting events have been militarized and turned into recruitment tools to get these young people to sign up for the army or whatever. So I wouldn't need a national anthem at all. It's just I'm kind of an individualist. I don't care about that sort of thing. But if you're going to have one, the entire concept of a national anthem is it's a song that draws us all together as we celebrate it or enjoy it. And to have a regular one and then a black one is completely divisive. You'd be better off just scrapping the whole concept than adding a new one for a different sliver of society. That's why I made it a joke. Give me the Latinx national anthem and everything else. Make it a rainbow. We'll start playing it 3 or 4 hours before kickoff,
Sure.
and then we'll get them
Right.
all played right through, sung beautifully, with pageantry and fireworks and rockets.
Forget
yeah,
the
that was
halftime show.
good Lord, let's not get me started. So yeah, that was my main complaint. Yeah, but what were you thinking? And what was the kerfuffle on social media over this weekend? Because I didn't hear
Oh,
any of it.
it's the same old stuff. Just it's probably not even worth getting into. No one's being super highly intellectual about this. It's just when they started doing this a couple of years ago or whenever it was they rolled it out the first time. It's that same culture war stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's, it's like the burning the flag thing,
Yeah.
right? If you don't love America, get the hell out. You're burning the flag, right? It's all that sort of nonsense, and no one's getting to the deeper point, which I think you tied in nicely at the end of your article there in your little PS part of your article about the military planes flying over. It has the sports, especially the NFL, does seem to be in a ways a recruiting commercial.
Explicitly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it started in the Obama administration when the DoD, Department of Defense, specifically started paying these teams to have the color guard in the middle of the field and to allow them to fly the jets over. I think it was Obama's first term. And yeah, I just hate everything about that. Don't glorify war to get some suckers who are bored and don't feel like they have any options to think they ought to join the military and go kill some people. So we stopped having a defensive military force generations ago. Yeah, so I hate everything about that, and it's also annoying to have the political right join in the culture war stuff, complaining about Colin Kaepernick and whatever, kneeling on the field saying, hey, don't politicize my beautiful game or whatever. Well, the damn thing's been politicized for a long time. You just happen to like that politics.
Mm-hmm.
And, that hypocrisy, you can't just let that sit there. I don't like things being politicized either. I'd rather they just played football, but the Colin Kaepernick didn't start that crap. The Obama did.
So the tone of your article though sort of has a built-in maybe it's a subconscious bias, and I totally get it, because you still have this knee-jerk reaction that, like, gosh darn it, I'm in America, I'm for America, I want there to be an American national anthem. So I get that instinct, and that's a hard one to shake off, just because it's so ingrained in us, especially when we're growing up, and you just feel this fealty towards the nation, right? And somehow, even though we're libertarian anarchists, there's something that rubs us the wrong way. And so when I was having that emotional reaction, reading your article and sort of, getting that sense from you that, hey, you still believe in America, you still love America somewhere down in your core, and that this is sort of an affront to those feelings that you have. I feel the same way. So then I started questioning myself, well, wait a second, is this really a bad thing? Like, let's look at it from the libertarian anarchist viewpoint. And I think this is maybe a good sign for us, at least. And this is probably just the way the decline of empires happen. It's never just overnight. It's slowly, and then what's the saying? Then suddenly, all at once, or something like that, right? But this is the sort of thing you would predict as a society starts to break up. That different groups no longer feel like they are part of the society as a whole, and they start splintering. And so right now it's a couple of national anthems being played at the game under the guise that we're all under one flag, and here comes the military rah rah at the end. But really, I think what's going on underneath is that this is a manifestation of the splintering of the country. And in a way, just as a person born and raised in America, I feel sad about that. But in another way, as a libertarian anarchist, I feel glad about that. I think like you said in your article, cheered on. The more the merrier. Let's have 100 different national anthems. I'm all for it. The more the quicker we split this country up, I don't know, the better, in my opinion. What do you think?
Oh, that's a very good point. Brings up a couple thoughts. I don't know how old, if they're still doing this when you were in grade school, or if they did it in your part of the country. But did you stand up at the beginning of class and face the flag, put your hand on your
Every
heart,
day.
and pledge? Okay, I did too.
Of course.
So there's a huge amount of nationalistic brainwashing we all went through. We got propagandized into loving the nation. And for sure, I love where I am. I love my home, my community, my culture. And I sure as heck don't love any other nation. If I'm going to love one, it's going to be this one. But you bring up a great point. I didn't think about it, that, maybe this is a sign of a splintering. It's like I said in my piece, when it comes to national anthems being played before a football game, the correct number is 0 or 1. 2 or more is a mistake, but maybe you're right. Maybe to get to 0, you have to go through 1 and 2 and maybe 3, and then everybody realizes this is stupid and just goes to 0. And then just maybe we quit worshiping the nation state. Because as much as I love my country, that's different from the government. It's certainly different than the military arm of the government. I sure as heck don't want to worship that disastrous leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good. Maybe I shouldn't be so curmudgeonly when I see the Black National Anthem sung. Maybe it's a sign of good things. Heck if I know.
Yeah, I think with a lot of these things, big, huge corporations like the NFL or whatever huge corporation you work for, if they had implemented some of those DEI programs in their company or whatever the thing might be, they're just going along. Right.
Sure.
The corporations don't care one way or the other. They don't give a crap about DEI or national anthems. Right. They just want whatever's going to, get them along. What's going to keep them in the good graces of the government or the powers that be or whatever. And they're just going to kind of go along with it. So they're more of just reacting, and they'll change whichever way the wind blows. I think we saw that with a lot of the boycotts after like those Bud Light commercials and all that other stuff that happened in the woke culture war. So I'm not really putting any blame on the NFL. To me, it's just a bellwether. It's just you can kind of put your finger up and see which way the wind is blowing by what happens with some of the most popular stuff in the culture, like the NFL. If the NFL all of a sudden started playing the clown national anthem, I would just say, I wouldn't go, what are they doing? Like, this is crazy. I just be like, what does that mean that's happening in culture? It's in the society itself that is producing this reflection from the corporations.
I'm going to push against that framework in the following sense. If the NFL was a single entity with a single head, if corporations were beings that acted in this world like individuals act, I would agree with your assessment, but they're not. They're an amalgamation of the varied interests of all the hundreds or thousands of people that populate that entity, that business. And it's definitely true that identitarians, escaped from the colleges and got into the human resources departments at first and then
Right.
everywhere else of these organizations. And that's where the desire to do these things sprouted. It wasn't a reflection of our society. It was driven from certain segments of certain departments within these firms, way below the C-suite, by the way, which is why I think it infiltrated so well. And the people that are big decision makers that are caring about the bottom line and do think it's stupid to piss off every single person who drinks Bud Light for the sake of some egalitarian nonsense. So yeah, I would disagree with your framing just as what these creatures are, because they're not monoliths. They're comprised of individual people.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do feel like, man, if they had a plan, they quote unquote, but I don't think they needed a plan. I think this is just the way it would have happened naturally, or did just happen naturally. You know, they start with the universities, and where do they go from there? And it did kind of happen in the HR departments. And I don't know how, like you said, call them the identitarians, move from the colleges to the HR departments so seamlessly, and like they all seem to go there, right?
It is funny how these sorts of people with an agenda find the lymph nodes of society and find the spot to make, to really make their mark on an organization, like getting into the newsrooms in the media or getting into HR departments because you can control the whole company from human resources if you really know your whatever their version of bylaws is, they're so yeah, and the right does it too. When they have an ideological agenda, these people who want to move society somehow find a knack for getting in the exact right spots. Like, look what the neocons did. Not to jump the gun on what we're talking about today, but they get in the right places where they can whisper in the right ears and move all of society to their whim. And the left did that beautifully. I don't know for sure whether that long march through the institutions was, accurate exactly, if it was a plan. I don't really think it was a plan, but if you want to promote an oppressor-oppressed agenda, that is the right place to sprinkle those seeds. Because if you do your job well, they're going to go everywhere. And a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, I agree. Well, anyway, whatever. I don't care about all the anthems and stuff. I don't tune in for any part of the games, and I don't really. I almost never go see the games in person. One, they're just so ridiculously expensive to go do anymore. But especially when it comes to football, I actually like watching it on TV better than at the stadium because it's so hard to see in the stadium usually. So I don't care, Adam. You're just an old fuddy-duddy curmudgeon. I'm going to enjoy my football season. Go Vikings. Woo!
All right. I will restrain myself and not mock you, but I'm not going to let you duck the essential question. You did watch football all weekend, and you did hear the national anthem. So based on style, rhythm, meter, and quality, which anthem is the best?
I don't know. I didn't tune in. I don't know if they even played those other versions live on air, or if you just had to be in the stadium. I certainly didn't hear them. I usually tune in, right at kickoff. So I've already missed all that stuff if they even do show it on TV. So I think I've heard that the Black National Anthem played a couple of times, and I'm trying to remember. It's a beautiful song. Isn't it based on the what's the bass music for that? Isn't it like never mind. I'm gonna just ruin that part of it, but it's a good song. I like it. So yeah, let's get all the others going.
To my shame, I don't have the slightest answer to any of those questions. All I remember is last February during the Super Bowl. I heard it for, I think, the first time, and I thought it was a nice song. I also didn't know what it was doing there.
Yeah. You could also say, what are punters doing there? I don't know, but
yeah, that's a good question. We didn't even get into the other annoyances of football, like how they've made the game too safe. I don't really want to see these people get crippled, but it sure isn't the same game that I enjoyed in the 80s or 90s.
And I know you're not watching it. I know you say you didn't watch any of the games, but I got to go off on a little side right here. The NFL's got this new dynamic kickoff rule. They're trying to make the kickoffs exciting again, and this is awful. It's the worst thing they've ever come up with. It's just dumb.
What's the change?
Oh God, it's so hard to explain. You should just go on YouTube and watch a couple of examples. The way they've done it, they've moved everything. It's just weird. So everybody's just kicking it through the end zone. There's no returns at all. And
I remember that
so
they changed the place where you kick off from, so that there was almost never any returns. And for my money, you're not going to be able to make kickoffs exciting unless you're willing to accept the cranial trauma and the murders that are going to come a couple decades later based on those collisions, because that's what a kickoff return is.
Oh, and one other interesting thing, and again, I find this just to be, I don't know how many times I go through this in life, but you hear the counterintuitive argument for how to accomplish a goal, and it just some sort of like light bulb goes off. You're like, oh my God, that's you just seem blown away by what seems to be the most simple and obvious thing. So there was a study or a report, I can't remember who did it, probably I think universities or somewhere, many years ago, and they said, how to make football safer. What can you do to make football safer? Because this was the time when all those concussion things were going on, all those scandals, and they basically came to the conclusion: remove the helmets.
Right. Yeah,
remove the helmets, and that will make actually people safer, because people will play safer.
As
They're
they
not
do in
going to
rugby.
be using their head as a weapon.
Yes. I wish I'd looked up the name of the economist, but somebody was asking some economist how you reduce the horrible fatalities in traffic accidents in this country. We crash into each other, we crash into pedestrians. It's a huge problem. You end up getting 30 to 40,000 of people annually killed with automotive accidents. And they're asking this guy, you're an economist, smarty pants, how do you fix this? He says, it's simple. You weld an iron spike to the center of every steering wheel, pointed right at the heart of the driver. And you will never get any crashes, and traffic will move very, very slow. The point he's trying to make is, yes, you can do engineering to try and make things better, but everything's a trade-off.
Right. There are no solutions.
There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs.
So, all right, Adam. Well, we got in an economic lesson there at the end. Congratulations.
Or at least a good joke. All right, well, go Vikings. I'll cede all my good luck wishes to the Broncos. I'll give those over to you, because I don't need them anymore. Very nice conversation. Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Haman Nature. We will catch you next time.